What's up, guys? James Campbell, Dynamic Striking, joined today with boxing analyst, Hall of Famer, Teddy Atlas. Welcome back to Boston, Teddy.
Thank you.
It's been a while, but I'm glad
Good
you're
to be
here.
in your hometown.
Yeah,
Nice.
we couldn't be happy to have you. We've done 18 films with Teddy, instructional videos, and our latest one was MMA power punching. And speaking of MMA, we're here this week for the Sean O'Malley Sterling fight, and we wanted to get your thoughts on the matchup, Teddy. Well, what do you think?
You couldn't get a more distinct, really separate sort of matchup for distinct talents and abilities. I mean, you got Sterling, who's a tremendous grappler, wrestler, everything on the mat, jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's so physically strong. I mean, he first of all comes with technique. Obviously, his technique, his comfort level there, his confidence level there is tops. I mean, he just fought a former world champion, Cejudo.
Shout out to Henry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Henry, we knew you were on the card. Fight ready. We'll see you soon.
And that was a close fight.
Yeah.
I mean, really close. Matter of fact, I love Sterling, but I had Cejudo probably winning by a point. I mean, like very close, but I thought he had a little edge in that fight. But it was a hell of a fight. And Cejudo is, if I remember correctly, he's an Olympian wrestler, and
Only been taken down one other time besides Sterling.
and Sterling was able to, do what you just said.
Yeah.
Not only take him down, but handle himself. A very close fight, but handle himself in that domain. And that's a tough domain when you're in there with an Olympic wrestler, a guy of that level. So we know how good Sterling is there, and how, as I just described, how physically strong he is there. And take all the, accolades that I just threw to him, deservingly so,
Yeah.
and then switch it over to O'Malley in the striking. See, that's what makes this so interesting. Because one guy, as I said, and I use the word distinct, he is very, strong in one area, and then the other guy is very strong in the opposite area. So you got the striker against the guy that's tremendous, obviously, on the mat. Now, that doesn't mean that Sterling can't strike.
Right, I was just going to say that.
No, he can. It reminds me a little bit, if you're going to talk about someone great on the mat, one of the greatest is the great, legendary Khabib, where he was so great. I mean, he was invincible down there. But his striking game continued to evolve as he went on in his career. And it got to the point where it was really damn solid. And it was solid because, well, his base was always solid. It's sort of like on the floor, like he never got out of position on the mat. Standing, even though that was his forte, he never got out of position standing either. He threw a strong jab. He was always balanced. He never made mistakes. He never helped you to beat him. And I see Sterling a little, he might not be sensational in that area, but I see Sterling the same sort of way, that he's solid in that area. He's real, he's solid with everything. And for me, it centers around the jab, the most basic punch for a striker, for a fighter. And Khabib had a tremendous jab, and it got better and better and better. It was strong, it was accurate. It didn't have to be often, but it was at the right time. It was like I said, it could disrupt somebody. Right. And Sterling has the ability to do that. He's going to need that. He can't match O'Malley as a striker, but the jab could neutralize him. The jab could slow him down. And of course, another way to slow down a guy who's so mobile like O'Malley is to go to the body, put water in the basement. Take the air out of the tires a little bit. Yeah. And of course, in the MMA world, they have other ways of doing it. They just destroy the damn tire by kicking the crap out of the tire, out of the legs. But now for O'Malley, tremendous striker. I almost put him, I can't put him in that class, but I'm thinking about Adesanya, who's great. Great striker. But now the only reason I can't quite put him in that class yet is because Adesanya has done it at the mountaintops. You know, O'Malley hasn't done it yet at the mountaintops. He's not as experienced with top fighters like Sterling is. Sterling has fought top guys, and he's been doing it for a while. So O'Malley's just getting there, but he shows the ability, the pure talent to be one of those top guys if he can breathe in that air.
Right.
You know, which you're going to get a good glimpse of that against Sterling. And again, the reason why I say he's like Adesanya is that Adesanya would do things that if anyone else would be wrong. Like, don't even try this. You know that old saying, don't try it at all.
That's a great way to look. Yeah.
And he would make it right. Like, if anyone else did it, it would be wrong. He'd make it right because of his athleticism.
And it looks good.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like,
yeah,
oh, what's he doing?
He's got the timing, he's got the instincts, he's got the intuition, you know, to do things. I'll use a boxing comparison. Roy Jones Jr., who I love, he used to do things wrong and make it right. He did things the opposite of the boxing 101, you know, textbook. And he pulled back, he dropped his hands, he do everything that you're not supposed, and he make it work in his time frame of being when he was really good. And O'Malley's kind of like a little bit along those lines, where he can, and Adesanya was along those lines, where it still is, where they could do things wrong and make it work for them, make it right. In other words, create their own music. And so, and to do that, you have to have a couple of things. You have to have instincts, you have to have timing, you have to have great physical ability, great athleticism, and O'Malley's got all of that. So it's going to be really interesting. Can he dominate with his game, standing, striking, and stay away from Sterling's game? Or can Sterling get him to come, you know, kind of like the spider with the beetle, come into my web, come into my place, and you ain't leaving. Right. You know, get him down there. Can he do that? So who can get, I always say when I'm breaking down the fights, you know, I'm here to break down the fights for ESPN, for the UFC.
Yep.
And when I'm doing boxing or UFC, I always talk about geography. Which fighter can get the geography that they need to get to use their talents to the utmost? And that's what this will come down to. Yeah. Who can get the geography in that cage that they need to best suit their abilities? It's gonna be so interesting. And I'll throw in one other thing with Adesanya, who I love. O'Malley, Adesanya was not a great on the mat, but what he became great at, and I can't even say he's not great on the mat, he became really good. We know his striking was his forte, but he became really good at prevention of takedowns,
right?
Of defending takedowns and being able to defend on the floor, on the mat. And O'Malley, I don't know if he's been working on it, I'm sure he has. That's going to be a big part. Can he defend? We know he can't beat Sterling down there, but can he defend from being taken down there? And as I said, get to his geography for most of the fight, where he's doing what he does so well, which is create his own music, you know, with funny hair.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, so it's a great matchup. We're excited. Matchups make fighters, right, Teddy?
Styles make fights.
But before I let you go, since we're in Boston, we got the rich history of fighting. You got to give me a Boston fighting story, because everybody loves your stories besides your analysts.
I mean, look, you have Tony DeMarco was one of the tremendous fighters from Boston. He was around back in the, well, we're going back to the 40s, I guess, 50s.
Left hook, right?
Yeah, great left hook, great left hook, great left hook. The only thing is he didn't, there was one guy that was his nemesis, Carmen Basilio. That was his nemesis. But he was an exciting guy with that left hook. Oh man, you know, the old time, you like this story. The old timers would say he hit you on top of the head, fracture your ankles. You know what I mean? They had the best way of saying things, the old timers.
Yeah,
but no, DeMarco could really bang with that left hook. And I mean, this is a sports city.
Yeah.
You know, and,
rich history.
Yeah, rich history, and you know, you had a lot of good fighters, you know, that came out. And then if you move a little, I don't know if it's north or south or west or east, west, whatever it is, but if you move a little towards a place called Brockton.
Oh yeah.
I'm playing with you.
Yeah.
But a little place called Brockton. I don't know if there was something in the water or something, but man, think about it. How do you get from one place, a little place, right? It was small, little place, Brockton. How do you get in one place two of the greatest fighters of all time? Rocky Marciano, the greatest champions of all time. Rocky Marciano and one of my favorite fighters of all time, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. How is that possible? How is it really? Is it in the water? What that? You got two of the greatest fighters. People don't talk about that enough.
No.
From Brockton, Massachusetts.
Same.
The Brockton Blockbuster and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Maybe the greatest middleweight of all time. Definitely one of them.
Yeah.
And probably the greatest southpaw of all time. On top of that. But definitely one of the greatest. And of course, Marciano, only heavyweight champ ever to retire undefeated, 49-0.
Unbelievable. But all right, guys. So check out the UFC. Go to Dynamic Striking. Check out Teddy's instructionals. There's 18 of them. You'll get whatever you need out of those instructionals, whether it's mental capacity, Teddy. You know,
The mental part is 75%
Yeah.
of.
We got a whole instructional
fighting.
on that, and bullying for kids. We got
Anti-bullying.
MMA videos. We got them all, guys. So go to Dynamic Striking. Check out Teddy's podcast, The Fight, if you want to get the latest news in boxing and UFC. Subscribe to that, and yeah, and we'll see you next time, guys. Keep your hands up.